Ben in studio. We're talking about Richard Riakporhe fighting Chris Billam-Smith at Selhurst Park on the 15th of June. And Ben, you were saying the very venue itself gives this fight something different. I can see a number of messages from people coming in saying, where do I get tickets? I'll go to that, Selhurst Park. There's a Palace fan, Tommy, a Palace fan. Definitely, I want to go to my own stadium to watch that fight. I mean, you're excited by it.
I think it's a celebration. I think it's a celebration for British boxing. It's an outdoor summer event. It's something that Crystal Palace have wanted to do for a long time with Richard Riakporhe in South London. You don't get many occasions. Boxing fans love a spectacle. They love to enjoy themselves. It's a night out. It's a party. It's a festival. The things that Crystal Palace are planning with the music artists, the undercard, a couple announced yesterday, which is phenomenal. If anyone's ever seen Ben Whittaker fight in the flesh, now's the time on June the 15th in the stadium.
Yeah.
It's just with all the fights going on all around the world, British boxing is very, very important to us, and I think this is a standout event of the summer.
Well, you mentioned Ben Whittaker. He's going to face this fella, Ezra Aranyeka, in a light heavyweight clash on the Billam-Smith Riakporhe rematch undercard. Aranyeka, you won't be surprised to hear, Spencer, has been critical of Whittaker's showboating. Recently labelled him a kid, a diva, and says, I'll be the first man to beat him. Do you think Whittaker overdoes this aspect of what he does in the ring?
No, I think that's his selling point. That's exactly what he does. You know, I'm a big fan of Ben Whittaker, always have been. You know, the people are talking about, you know, he won't get away with this as he moves up the levels. They said that about Naseem Hamed when he was boxing, when he started out, and he could continue to do that because he has the talent, he has the class. That is part of his style. He works on the psychological thing, to getting inside the fighter's head as the fight's unfolding. So no, I think, listen, you got to sit back and enjoy. When we get a talent like this, you just have to sit back and enjoy the ride, because that's what it is with Ben Whittaker. You know, he's fighting the African King, a guy that gate crashed last press conference actually to call for this fight. He's 12-0, 10 KOs. He really fancies it. He sees this as a huge opportunity, but he doesn't know quite what a talent he's going in with Ben Whittaker. I spoke to him actually yesterday and said to him, listen, do you know what you're dealing with here? You know,
don't be
how you're
saying
going to do that? And no, he was thriving off it. He said, I know exactly what I'm dealing with, and I know exactly what I'm going in with, and I'm gonna rip up the script, and that's what he's saying. It's a great fight.
I mean, he's an entertainer, Whittaker, Simon, but some would say, look, just stick to what you're good at. Fight, box.
Well, he's good at both at the moment, isn't he? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I saw that absurd interview that Andy Clarke did with him from Sky, and I thought, well, what are you on about? But you know, sport is about entertainment. It's about glorification. It's about enhancing, getting people off their bums off seats. Whether Ben Whittaker can carry that through, he'll be the judge of that. He'll be the recipient of that upside or downside. I don't understand the argument. I think it's irrelevant. I think ultimately he's a remarkable talent. I think he's a very articulate, erudite young man, and I think he's going to be a superstar. And I'm for start. I think there's a balance. I'd never liked Naseem taking the mickey out of Steve Robinson the way he did in that fight, and I think there is a level of respect. But we'll see how it changes. But I don't think there should be any idea in this disposable society where optics is supposedly all a thing. I find it quite laughable that Sky presenters are having a go at a boxer about the fact he's a stylist. And
they're not the only ones. I mean, a few people have a pop at him, do they not, Ben?
I don't know. I think most people are in favour of it.
Yeah, I think most people are in favour of it. I think in the US in particular, he's developing a huge fan base. They seem to be more accepting of personality and characters and stars over there. But this is his 8th fight, so to be creating this much talking points already in his career, I've never seen anything like it. I think you have to think back even to Anthony Joshua in his 7th or 8th fight, Prince Naz in his 7th or 8th fight. Were they creating this much noise? I think they'd be hard pushed. We went to New York last week. He's being stopped at the Yankees game. He's being stopped in the street. That's unheard of.
Really?
That is unheard of.
They know all about that there.
Look,
he says what he's doing is working, doesn't it? Because I think that's what it's all about. It's about, you know, remembering who he is, what he is. Not only is he an exceptional talent, but he's a big personality outside the ring as well. And I think that is important today in today's society.
He's meticulous and dedicated in the ring and outside the ring. He knows what's important. He's a phenomenal talent. He's an elite level fighter that's proved himself at the very top of the amateur game, and he's going to go right to the very top. But in doing so, he's also becoming a superstar, and that's the difference.
Rob's a West Ham fan. I like Ben Whittaker as a fighter. I don't really enjoy the showboating, but I like him as a fighter. I don't know, goes down well with some and not others. Ben, you had a cracker when Fabio Wardley and Fraser Clarke contested a thriller of a split decision draw in London. That was March. Are we any closer to a rematch?
To be honest, murmurs have started to come from both camps, which I didn't expect so early. It was such a brutal night that I thought Fraser have a couple of months off, Fabio especially.
Yeah.
But I think they both know this is the biggest fight. This is the biggest money fight for both of them. This is the one that has created them, really. You know, you look at that fight and I think they'll look back on that fight as the most important fight of both of their respective careers. They've both been blown up into sort of superstar status, and now the rematch is, I feel, looming just because it's the biggest fight for both, and we've heard from both of them already. Do I think it's happening in the next couple of months? No. I think they both do need time, and even as a promoter and even as their managers, I think it's almost saying to the fighters, take a rest and then come back.
Have you been in touch? Like, how are you both? I mean, they both put so much into it.
I think they've both been away and they're both doing well. I know Fraser's back in the gym and he wants to go. He's got the bit between his teeth now. You know, that was his first real test, and I think he realised, wow, you know, he knows he's made for the game, but until you get in there and have a 12-round test like that in front of a packed O2, I think you then get the drug. He's got it now, and I think he knows that he can go right to the very top. He's got a lot more to go, a lot more improvement to go, and that's what's so exciting with Fraser in particular, how early on in his professional career
Spencer,
he is.
it was a sensation, wasn't it?
Great fight. You know, no one expected that. We knew it was going to be a good fight, but no one expected it to unfold the way that it unfolded. And it was an absolute barnstorm. When the draw was the right result, they both fought to a standstill. Really, do we want to see it again? Of course, we want to see it again. Is that the obvious move for both of them financially? Of course, it is. Do we see it this year? I think we do. I think we see it probably at the back end of the year. But Ben's right in what he says. When you go through a fight like that and both guys went through what they went through, you go, they need a little bit of rest. You know, they need a little bit of recovery time from that, because that was brutal, that fight. But it was fantastic entertainment.
I mean, they put so much into it, Simon. They both were commended for the effort that both of them made. Yeah. And I think if you're a fight fan, that's the one you want to see again.
Yeah. I mean, I still think Fabio Wardley won the fight. I think Fraser Clarke was more competitive in the fight than people thought he was going to be, and started better than people thought he was going to start. And both of them would have learned a lot of lessons about one another. You know, in terms, no one can question their bravery. Yeah. No one can question their resilience. Given the landscape of heavyweight boxing, it probably makes sense for them to fight again, because they're spinning around waiting for other opportunities, because major belts are titled and titles are tied up everywhere else, and they're not probably at world level anyway. So I think it makes sense, and as Ben says, the economics of that fight will now tell they'll get paid more for that fight than they will ever anywhere else.
When they fight again, do they become very wealthy young men? Ben, is that basically the reward?
I think they're both doing okay as it is. I think, this is a fight that will be something that they're not used to, just because I think it's changed Fraser Clarke and Fabio's career. Boxing in front of 1 million people in Britain, in that sort of environment. We've seen it with Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte when they fought many years ago, and they've both gone on to be pay-per-view stars. Yeah. It changes the trajectory.
And it's an all-British fight, as was Boatsy Aziz in February. Where are you at with that? Josh Boatsy won that night over Dan Aziz. Any news on that one?
Just frustrated, really. We thought we'd have the Boatsy Yard fight announced by now. I think everyone knows, ourselves at Boxer and Josh Boatsy have been ready for that fight, have accepted almost anything that's been put to us for that fight, have made everything possible to make it happen. But unfortunately, there's issues on the other side, and we've had to wait. I'm still hopeful, because I think it's the fight that the fans want. I think it's the obvious fight for British boxing. We've made so many British fights this year, Riyad Bill Smith being the next one. I think it has to happen, but obviously we're now having to consider other options, because, you know, it's almost out of our hands.
Sure. So Chris Billham-Smith against Richard Rakpor will happen on the 15th of June at Selhurst Park, and tickets been on sale now.
Tickets went on sale today. We actually had a record pre-sale for us, most we've ever done for a fight night. I expect it to go through the roof. We've got 2 big fights to announce next week, so now is the time to get your tickets. I know Bournemouth are putting on all the coaches for the fans, the Cherries fans coming up. all the way to South London, and then of course Crystal Palace at 10% of every ticket going to their Palace for Life Foundation. And I have to thank Steve Parish and Crystal Palace for getting so behind this event.